All right, Krug Show Thursday night. Sterling in the house. We got a lot to get to. There's some great topics. We're talking Niners. We're looking ahead to the Super Bowl. Let's go. Off and running on the Krug Show Thursday night. Maybe my favorite night to stream is Thursday night, and Sterling has been outstanding, and he is back with us, and we got a lot to get to. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're opening in Petaluma in 2026. Go get some brisket. Go get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. I love me some Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Also, thanks to Claudaddy Arcades for sending us to Philadelphia earlier this month. Great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. Don't forget Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. The great Anthony Catania is a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. All right, Sterling, good to see you, man. And we should tell everybody the great Sterling Bennett here. And you've heard him on 95.7 The Game. All right, let's go. Studio audience, give it up for our guest tonight, the great Sterling Bennett.
Thank you. You're far too kind. You're far too kind.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you guys got? You can't really step it up? All right. Okay, all right.
It's a very kind crowd you have here.
Yeah, well, it's hard to get the studio audience into my studio, since my studio's in my home, and I got to invite all the people in, and they're in line, and, it's the long deal. If you would like to be a member of our studio audience, could you imagine? Bunch of people lined up. My neighbors are like, who are all those people? We want to get into a number of different topics today, but we always talk about the big headlines of the day. One of the big headlines of the day is that, according to a guy named Jason Harmon, NFL, who's a great follow on Twitter at Jason Harmon NFL, he says 49ers quarterback Mac Jones is, quote, definitely on the Vikings radar, but there are a number of other teams interested. And it's interesting because he's, the Vikings Nuggets coming out of Mobile, the side of the Senior Bowl, which will be played tomorrow at 11:30 on the West Coast, 2:30 on the East Coast. The team, according to multiple reports, has faith in J.J. McCarthy. I don't know why, but they're still concerned a little bit about his injuries. But source with knowledge shared, Mac Jones is definitely on their radar, but a number of other teams want him. One very connected Minnesota source has named Anthony Richardson as a likely option as well. It's early in the offseason. Things could change, but, it sounds like Mac Jones to the Vikings is very much a possibility. Other teams mentioned, I think, include the Raiders. I saw a couple teams connected to Mac, possibly Arizona. What do you think, about Mac Jones and being dealt? Shanahan kind of laid it out there like, you know what? I'd be really surprised if Mac isn't with us next year. That kind of sounds like he's coming back. He really saved the season this year. I mean, the 49ers lost in the division playoff round to Seattle, but without Mac Jones, they don't make the playoffs most likely. And we probably have a much different vibe and feeling about the team, the franchise, and where they're at. And who knows, maybe somebody gets fired along the way because they were hugely disappointing. Instead, they win 12 games. They go to Philly. They upset the Eagles. They will eventually get beat by Seattle. Who knows? Seattle may wind up winning the Super Bowl. But what's your read on Mac Jones? Do you think Mac Jones is here next year, or do you think he's a key cog that they trade away?
Well, that's something I think we'll have to find the answer out whenever someone decides to offer more than a third-round draft pick, or if it's a high third-round draft pick, because the Niners can very easily sit back and say, you know what, Mac Jones is more important to us, is more valuable to us behind Brock Purdy, who has been banged up in 3 of the last couple of seasons or so. And if he goes down again, we have the best backup quarterback option behind him that has shown he can lead us to the playoffs, or at least be a big reason why we get there. But I am someone that thinks San Francisco, like they played the whole we're going to retool game last offseason. It made sense. I was all for it. But now you're in we got to go all in session again, I believe, this offseason. And I think trading Mac Jones for third round draft pick. Maybe you get lucky and someone gives you a late second round draft pick. Who knows what the market is for him? But it's a bad quarterback class. It's a bad free agent quarterback class as well. This is a great market to be wanting to trade the best backup quarterback in football this offseason. You'll have teams like the Raiders who, if they don't go quarterback at one, which they probably will, if they don't, though, Mac Jones makes sense for them, especially if Kubiak goes there, if he gets that coaching job. You have the Vikings, the Jets. Aaron Glenn could get desperate. He may get fired by week 4 this next year. Who knows? He may want a quarterback before it's all said and done. This is the Niners are positioned extremely well to trade Mac Jones for a high-end draft pick or early day 2, late day 2 pick. But I think a lot of that comes down to what somebody wants to offer, because the Niners can sit back and let him go next offseason for a third round compensation pick, most likely. But Mac may also want to go start. There was a lot of conversations that when they signed him, the initial thought was, let me be here for a year, remake my image, kind of reshape myself as a starting quarterback again, and then let you trade me in the next offseason. That's where we're at now. So if it were me, I'd trade Mac Jones. You want that second round draft pick, that third round draft pick. Maybe it's a player you can get back in return instead that you can value over Mac Jones. Maybe it's a receiver or it's a defensive end or a defensive tackle. Who knows? But I am in the group that says trade Mac Jones while you can. You can always find good backup quarterbacks behind him. Zach Wilson's out there. Other guys are out there behind him that can probably help you out just as much.
The more I look at this, the more it intrigues me. Now, this is the list of unrestricted free agent quarterbacks. There's 27 of them. Daniel Jones is interesting. We all expect him to re-sign with the Colts. Aaron Rodgers is going to be 43. Russell Wilson's played his best ball. He's 38. You got Marcus Mariota, who's now going on age 33. He's been in the league 10 years. God, it's hard to believe Mariota's been in the league 10 years. That's just time flies. Then you mentioned Zach Wilson. He's got a really good arm talent, but he's been terrible. And he's going to be, 26, 27 next year. Tyrod Taylor, 37 on his verge. Flacco, 41. Kenny Pickett stinks. Garoppolo, Trubisky, Case Keenum, Trey Lance, Josh Johnson, Brandon Allen. And this is the garbage pile. Teddy Bridgewater, John Walford, Tyler Huntley, Pro Bowler, former Pro Bowler.
In that Shooter Sanders camp now, Pro Bowlers.
Pro Bowler. Brett Rippon, Gardner Minshew. Skylar Thompson, Sam Howell, Sam Ellinger, Jeff Driscoll. Those are the free agent quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And it's like you're sitting there going, wait a second. Okay, so let's stop sharing there. And then I'm like, okay, well, where does Mac Jones rank on that list? Maybe at the top, especially if Daniel Jones is going to, go elsewhere. And then you've got the quarterback draft class. And, we'll share the screen on this one, just take a quick gander here. But this is also really makes me very excited about the offseason here. You got Fernando Mendoza. He's slated to go number 1 to the Raiders. Okay. Then is Mac Jones better than the rest of these guys? Ty Simpson, kind of like Ty Simpson a little bit. Carson Beck, I like Carson Beck. He can really hum it. He's got great arm. Drew Aller, big stature. Garrett Nussmeier was really bad this year for LSU. Trinidad Chambliss was really good for Ole Miss. Klubnik, Sawyer Robertson, Cole Payton. Suppose he's looked good in some of the All-Star games. Jalen Daniels. Some people like Jalen Daniels. Haynes King was a 5-star, I believe. He's really, really athletic and he's big.
Yes, he is.
And then what else do you got? Jacob. I'll say this. I like this guy, Jacob Clark from Missouri State, who threw the game-winning touchdown pass in the East-West Shrine game. Supposedly he's got a lot of examples of him coming from behind in games. Some people like Jack Strand. Gronowski from Iowa was very experienced. He's a little undersized. But, he had a very good career at Iowa and has won a lot of games. But once again, these are rookie quarterbacks that who knows? There's a couple of these guys are probably going to bust out and be decent, but we don't know exactly which ones. That's the key. And then when you look after Mendoza, is there any sure things? I mean, if you polled every GM in the league and said, hey, you need a quarterback and you can have Carson Beck or Mac Jones, what do you want? I think they're going to go Mac Jones. You're going to have Drew Aller or Mac Jones. I think they're going to go Mac Jones. Ty Simpson or Mac Jones. I think the majority would go Mac Jones.
But 80% probably say Mac Jones.
If you keep Mac Jones, you can get a third-round compensatory pick in the 27 draft. If but looking at this, I kind of think that the 49ers might be able to really get a lot more from Mac Jones than people think. I would not be surprised if the 49ers could use Mac Jones as a way to trade from the back of the first round into the top half of the first round. I know that sounds crazy because Mac Jones was on the street and, people are saying, well, maybe a third round pick, but why would you trade a $7 million backup quarterback that won 5 of his 8 games this year, who saved your season and really saved the bacon of the franchise to some degree? Why would you give that guy away just to get a third round pick a year early when you could hold on to him at $7 million, have him as the insurance policy next year, and still get that compensatory pick? So I just think that, I know people have talked generically about, a third round pick, because we all know football. We all know that Mac Jones is probably on the surface probably worth a third round pick. But when you look closer at this draft class and you look closer at this free agent class, I think the 49ers might be able to get a second round pick and a player, or they may be able to use Mac Jones as a means to trade up in the first round to get themselves a great rusher like a Reuben Bain. I mean, if you're Arizona and they want to get rid of Kyler and let's just say they're going to hire, I don't know, let's say they're going to get Clint Kubiak. Who are you going to get? I mean, if Kyler's not your quarterback and you're Clint Kubiak and you're in the toughest division in football, I mean, if you're going to get the Niners to give you Mac Jones, you might have to let them move up in the first round. I'm just saying, I think at first our expectations were like, mid-round pick. And then we're like, wait a second, he played really well. And then his contract, you factor in the contract, you're like, wait a second, third round pick. But now you're like, wait a second. If you kept him, you get a third round pick, even though it's a year later. So now I think the price tag's more of a second round pick. But now when I look at the rest of the quarterbacks, I think the Niners can either get a second round pick and a player. Like, I think they might be able to get a top 50 pick for Mac Jones and a player. Or I think there's a possibility that they might be able to move up in round 1 using Mac Jones in their first to do it. The more I look at this, Sterling, the more I'm very intrigued, and I understand why Shanahan was like, played that card of, hey, we expect him to be on our team. I would be shocked if he's not on our team, because if in the land of supply and demand, the Niners have, a good supply, and there is tremendous demand.
Yeah, I think, when you discuss trading Mac Jones, and I think I'm on board there with you. However, I think 2 things have to come into mind for the 49ers. Is that, one, do you believe Brock Purdy can stay healthy for 18 games or 18 plus games? I don't know. I obviously love Brock Purdy. I think he's the man. I think he can win this franchise a Super Bowl when it's all said and done. But on top of that, if you think Brock can stay healthy, or even if you don't, I guess, do you believe in Curtis Rourke, who this team drafted last year in round 7? Didn't play out last year because of a torn ACL recovering from. But at Indiana looked pretty good when he was healthy, fits the offense extremely well. If you believe he can be your backup quarterback next year and you feel confident in that, and you want to trade Mac Jones, I do think, well, I'm not sure exactly what the compensation would be. You mentioned trading up in the first round, for example. Okay, let's look at the teams in the first round. Well, the New York Jets pick number 2. If the Raiders go Mendoza, they're kind of SOL of what do we do here at the quarterback? We don't know. Aaron Glenn is kind of coaching for his job already. Woody Johnson's kind of a fiasco out there as a owner. Well, the Jets also pick at 16. Could San Francisco not jump from 27-16? The Jets get their quarterback, who's better than Ty Simpson right now, at least. Aaron Glenn saves his job for at least one more season. You hope so. And maybe you move up 11 picks or 9 picks, whatever it is, and you get the guy you want, and you jump teams in front of you like the Lions, like the Vikings, like the Cowboys, like, I don't know, let's say the Bills, the Texans, and the Rams. Like, it's not to say San Francisco will do it, but sometimes you got to find a sucker. And the Jets are often that sucker. And they've made a lot of trades this past year. Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, they got all those first-round draft picks. If they move back 9 spots and get the quarterback and you get something else in return, maybe it's a 4th or a 5th-round draft pick, like that kind of benefits both teams. And San Francisco really should be trying to stockpile draft picks at this point in time and take a risk, which I'm sure feeds into more of the conversation we'll have today. But, go all in. Like, this team is ready to win now. They're young, sure, but they have your franchise quarterback in place. You have an aging Christian McCaffrey, a near 40-year-old Trent Williams. Now's the time to go, go, go. You retooled last year. Let's get aggressive this offseason.
First of all, what's your guess? Is your guess that Rourke is going to be really good? Rourke's going to be good, or Rourke's going to be not good?
I think Curtis Rourke is a career backup, but I think he fits the offense really well. I think he's a quarterback that does everything Shanahan wants. My only concern is he's never healthy. Now, you can be healthy on the bench because you don't play much, but I think he has the pocket presence. I think he has the size you want. The ball placement is there. The accuracy is there. He's big. He's strong. It's just, can you stay upright with the offensive line San Francisco has?
You mentioned the Jets. Let's share the screen. Richard Sherman weighed in on his podcast, The Richard Sherman Show, on a couple things regarding the Niners, including his thoughts on Mac Jones. Let's listen to this and we'll react.
Let's talk offseason. San Francisco 49ers. There's going to be a lot of questions. How do you revamp this team? Obviously, you got to get healthy. One of the questions is, if you are John Lynch, do you resign Juwan Jennings, or do you maybe use that money elsewhere? Maybe reinforce the O-line with a guy like Tyler Linderbaum from the Baltimore Ravens. What direction do you think the 49ers should go this offseason?
I think you start building an offensive line that can move people. And sure, Juwan Jennings embodies everything you want for the San Francisco 49ers, that offense where Kyle Shanahan preaches. He's a guy that works hard. He does things the right way. But can you find another is the question. What does he get on the open market? And I think you allow him to explore that. I think you keep the phone lines open. I think you keep communication, but I don't think you're the first. I think you let him walk out of the building and let him see what he can get. Now, I think you try to match it if it's fair. If you think, hey, man, that's a low enough number that we could stay in the fight and hope that you didn't burn the bridge by letting him walk. But I think getting a guy like Tyler Linderbaum, is a great pickup. But I also have concerns about why Baltimore let him walk. You got to do your due diligence and figure out why would they let a 25-year-old 3-time Pro Bowler and former first-round pick get out the building, because rarely are those guys available. And for that reason, they're dependable, they're durable, they're what you expect them to be, and you're going to be paying a high price tag. With the injury history of the San Francisco 49ers, you got to make sure you make sure you open every door and peek under every mat and peek into every corner to make sure this guy is going to make it through the football season every single year, if you're going to pay him that much money because of just the history that you've had. But I think that is a move you make. I think offensive and defensive line is where championships are won. I think you can find receivers, and maybe they use Mac Jones to help them find their number one receiver in some way. Maybe there's a lot of quarterback needy teams, and we already mentioned the Minnesota Vikings, but the New York Jets. Like, hey, is Wilson available? Like, can we get a Mac Jones and a pick for Wilson? Like, is Garrett Wilson available? That's the conversation you're going to ask. And they've been sellers before. I mean, they got rid of Quinnen Williams, they get rid of Sauce Gardner. So that's a conversation that you're going to have. And an offensive coordinator going to the Jets is going to want some security. Hey, I need an established quarterback. I think Kevin O'Connell was going to be the first call. That, hey, is he available? Because I know he could come in here and do the job. All right, he could be our quarterback that gets us through to make sure we know we have stability and we know our all-pro receivers happy. What are you willing to give for him? I don't think you give Justin Jefferson, but can you give Addison? Addison has some off-the-field issues. The San Francisco 49ers, I don't know the answers to those questions, but I think those are the things that you're going to have to explore. But I think solidifying the offensive line, finding a pass rusher, finding two, you can never have enough of them, is priority over wide receiver. I know they need to get faster. They need to get more talented. They need more speed and all that good stuff. But if you can't block for the $50 million quarterback, then none of it really matters.
So there you go. A little bit of Richard Sherman there. And he brings up Garrett Wilson. What do you think of that name? I mean, Mac to the Jets and some package for Garrett Wilson. Is that intrigue you, Sterling? Is it not as intriguing? Or Jordan Addison is in a lot of ways is a perfect piece. If he didn't have issues off the field, he separates at will. He's very, very good. What do you think? Mac Jones to the Vikings, Mac Jones to the Jets for a receiver. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're San Francisco, you probably prefer to trade Mac Jones to the other conference. I don't know if the Jets are going to be eager to get rid of Garrett Wilson, who I think is, I don't know, top 30 receiver in the NFL. He's pretty good. I think he got paid too recently as well. So I don't know what the contract status looks like for him as we speak. I think it's more feasible to trade Mac Jones to the Vikings and get Jordan Addison or something like that back. I don't know what, Addison's status is. I think he has 3 arrests under his name, which isn't great, but sometimes context matters in that conversation. But I think, what's more likely is that the Niners trade Mac Jones for a high-end 3rd-round draft pick or a 2nd-round draft pick. But I think, this idea that getting a player, is that more enticing than an unproven draft prospect that may or may not be bad? A lot of talk went into this team not really having the draft success you want from a team that's been so successful in previous years. And, for those out there that believe that John Lynch isn't good at his job, you don't want him having more draft picks. You want him trading away Mac Jones for players. And I think if you value Jordan Addison, I think he's in the last year of his contract. And then Garrett Wilson probably getting paid big money. Both those guys fit what you want to do. I just don't know if San Francisco wants to, after paying Deebo Samuel, paying Brandon Ayuk, if you want to go in and pay another receiver big money and sit there and I hope this works out, or do you want to get some younger talent around you and get some speed, which right now your offense doesn't have?
Yeah, no, the Niners are molasses. They're so slow. Danny says, rumor is Jennings is valued at almost $20 million per. That's his asking price. He's definitely not worth that. He's definitely gone. Definitely gone. What's your walkaway price on JJ? And I brought this up earlier to Brian Peacock on Niners Nightly on KNBR, and I just said, hey, mine's 2 years, $32 million. I'll go to $16 million, even though I don't think he's a $16 million receiver, but I'll go to $16 million for the continuity purposes if I could get him on a 2-year deal. But I don't want to do some kind of freaking endless long dance. It's here's my offer. Do you want it? Take it. If you don't, fine, but I don't want to do a big drama thing. I think, watching the way that, Deebo and Ayuk, and it's I don't know about you, dude, but I'm all wide receivered out. I don't, this organization had Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Randy Moss, awesome Hall of Fame receivers, Anquan Bolden. I don't want to dance the dance with these mediocre receivers and try to pretend like these guys are all stars when they ain't. So I'll pay JJ for 2 years at $32 million, but that's my walkaway price. If he gets a penny over that, I just let him go. And I get the feeling that he knows he's going because he was kind of misty-eyed in the final locker room deal with the media, and he's not really a misty-eyed kind of a guy. And I know he may think, his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, may think, I got the Niners over a fucking barrel because Ricky Pearsall's glass and they got nothing behind it. And they're going to have to pay my dude. But no, he's factoring wrong. And I would just let JJ walk. I think he's already played his best football. I think injuries are coming. He's never going to justify this money, even at 2 years, $32 million. So that's my walkaway price. What's yours?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be around, 14. It'd be around similar to what you're saying. I also think it hurts Jennings knowing that San Francisco is so deprived of speed and he's walking into a free agency class that has names like Jalen Naylor, Wandale Robinson, Rashid Shaheed, Tutu Atwell, Christian Kirk, and the big one, Alec Pierce. Like, if I'm San Francisco, I'm offering 2 or 3 of those guys a contract before I even call Juwan Jennings and say, hey, let's have a conversation. Like, I'd much rather pay Alec Pierce $20 million or whatever Juwan's asking price is than go pay Juwan Jennings that. Pierce is a little younger. He fits your offense extremely well. He's a smaller guy for sure, but he gets open downfield. He's a great route runner. Or really like buy low on Tutu Atwell. Go buy low on Jalen Naylor. Like, you have to have guys. This team doesn't have the numbers, let alone the talent in that receiver room. Go pay 2 or 3 guys relatively, what you're going to give Juwan, say once $18 million. I'll give 2 or 3 guys $9 million a year or whatever it is. And just kind of stock up on talent rather than paying one guy and saying we're done. This team is deprived offensively of talent. You let Debo go. You traded him away for all the right reasons. Ayuk's now gone. Jennings is gone. You don't need one receiver. You need 2, 3 receivers in that room, and maybe even another tight end because Kittle could be out for who knows how long. But I go pay Pierce and Shaheed and Robinson and those guys a lot more money and not really be reliant on Pearsall being the big piece. I like him a lot. I think he's good when he's healthy, but you got to be healthy. And so I would take Juwan's money and say, how can we allocate this, not to one guy, but 2 or 3 guys in that room as well?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think I would go 2 wide receivers in free agency. Give me Romeo Doubs. Give me Wandale Robinson. I think Pierce is going to get overpaid. So I'll take Wandale, who was an awesome, prolific receiver at Kentucky, and then played with crappy quarterbacks with the Giants. 2 years ago they had nothing. This year, I think Dart's a circus, and barely, he's looking to run. He's like one read and go. I mean, he's raw and not great. I think Wandale potentially could be very prolific if he gets in tip-top shape and gets on a team with a really good quarterback.
It goes right back into that Debo Samuel role. He becomes a gadget guy again.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a gadget guy. He's got a similar build to a Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think I think he could be really good. I'm not saying he's Amon-Ra. Don't get me wrong. Okay, here's the other thing. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft, but I'm looking at a mock right now. Jordan Tyson they have going 9. Carnell Tate they have going 12. Mekhi Lemon they have going 15. Denzel Boston they have going 20. Kevin Concepcion from A&M they have going 21. So those top 5 receivers are all, according to this, going to be off the board when the Niners pick at 27. And Chris Bell's coming off an ACL. Jacoby Lane has got great ball skills. I really like him from USC. Yeah. But I wouldn't take him in the first round. Elijah Surratt, hell no, I'm not taking him in the first round. I like Jeremy Bernard from Bama, but I'm not taking him in the first round. I like Zachariah Branch from Georgia, but he's 175 pounds. I like Malachi Fields, like later in the draft.
Nick Tabor.
Who's that?
Nick Tabor.
I don't even know him.
Okay.
Who's he play for?
I'm pretty sure he declared. Maybe I'm wrong, so I'll let you continue and I'll look it up. But I'm pretty sure he declared.
I don't see him on the list. But I mean, there's day 3 receivers I really like as well. You guys know me. I'm a day 3 monster. I love day 3 guys. But this kid, Ted Hurst from Georgia State, I think is a really, really good FCS level player. I think he's going to be a major surprise. And then there's some day 3 guys. I like Dylan Bell from Georgia. I think he's kind of an interesting player. Chris Hilton from LSU is a really good player. Deion Burks from Oklahoma is kind of a little slot receiver, but very powerful. So there's a few guys that, the Iowa kid who, was running around crazy. The return guy, they say runs in the 4.2s. I forget his name, but he looked good in one of the all-star practices that I was watching. So, but I mean, rookie receivers don't do a lot. So I think the Niners have to maybe trade for a guy. Garrett Wilson would be great, but I'd take a flyer on Jordan Addison. I think Addison on the field is exactly what they need. He's a slithery, great ball skills, space creator, who plays bigger than his size, and he plays faster than his 40. I mean, I really like him. But off the field, he's a circus. He's been in the league 3 years. He's got 3 arrests, different things. So it's like, but I would definitely look at the free agent market. Romeo Dobbs, to me, seems like a real natural fit. But yeah, Jawan Jennings.
Do the concussions scare you with him?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other one I would consider, I've heard talk that the Niners may consider moving Ricky Pearsall, which doesn't seem like it makes sense when you consider his age and the rest of this receiving core. But if I heard that the Niners were pissed that he did not play at the end of the year in Week 18, and that he may have shown up late to the game. I don't know that for a fact. I haven't verified any of that, but I mean, he was kind of frustrating. I mean, Shanahan was asked about Ricky and what he needs to learn, and he's like, he needs to learn to come back faster. I think he actually said that. He needs to learn
yes,
to
he did, yes.
get healthier faster. It's like, what? And then Shanahan seemed to be backing him, but Shanahan has this way of like, it sounds like he's making an excuse for you, but in reality, he's making a statement of fact. And his statement of fact on Ricky was like, hey man, he was good for 4 games.
Yeah.
Now it was almost like you could read it either way. It was like Shanahan saying, hey man, he was good for 4 games. And in those 4 games that he played, man, if that's what we get, man, we love what we saw in those 4 games. Or it could be like, you know what? I'm going to be positive and I'm going to say, we got 4 games out of him, but that also could be the reason they wind up trading him, because they're like, hey man, he was only healthy for 4 games. The guy's glass. I would call up Jacksonville after watching Brian Thomas Jr. struggle in year 2 with Trevor Lawrence and say, hey, how about a straight up trade? Brian Thomas Jr. for Ricky. Let's do it. Ricky's went to college in that part of the country. Brian Thomas Jr., I think, is more of a boundary X. I think he would be a better fit. I think there's more durability there. I could see why, Jacksonville would like Pearsall. I can see why the Niners would like Brian Thomas. I kind of think both guys need a change of scenery. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my read. So I don't know. But the receiver thing, it's a major, major need where they may need multiple receivers, but I don't think you can go receiver in the first round.
Okay. Well, because you mentioned a lot of the guys in that mock draft you were reading of like, they're going to be gone by, pick 20 or whatever, 18. And we talked about trading Mac Jones away. Like, if you can go up and you get to 17 or 16, like you're saying, you can't even think about going wide receiver, even if it is one of the top guys in the first round.
I mean, I like Mekhi Lemon. I like Carnell Tate.
Sure.
And if I could get one of those guys, I would try to get one of those guys. But if I can't get one of those guys, I'm not going KC Concepcion. I know the A&M quarterback was a circus this year as well. I mean, Marcel Reed, I had great hopes for, but he just got worse and worse and worse and worse as the season went on. So I almost don't blame Concepcion for not having a great year, because Reed is bad. He's just not a quarterback. I don't know what he is. He's not an NFL quarterback, that's for sure. So it's a tough call, but I think you got to hit it in the trade. You got to hit it in free agency. You got to hit it in the draft. They're gonna have to find some guys. They're gonna have to get lucky. But I kind of like Malachi Fields. I'll tell you, after watching the All-Star games practices, Malachi Fields, it's all about his 40 time. If he comes out and runs a decent 40, I mean, if he runs a fast 40, he's going to go high. If he runs a decent 40, I think, I can't go with him if he runs like a 4.7 number like JJ. He's going to have to be a late day 3 guy if that's the case. But man, Malachi Fields will absolutely go get it for you. And he's got great ball skills. He's so competitive at the catch point. I really like Malachi Fields. And to me, he almost looks like a perfect replacement for JJ.
Are you working under the assumption that Pearsall will be here or be gone? When you're talking about your offseason plan, free agency, the draft, are you operating under Pearsall being here or Pearsall being gone?
I think Pearsall is going to be gone. I think there's a chance they're going to move Pearsall. So, I mean, I'm fine if they don't,
right.
but
right.
But I do, at least let's just say this. I didn't solicit this, and I don't know what kind of content you do, but the kind of content I do is I give you my opinion, but I don't break stories. You know, you don't see. I'm not fucking Tom Pelissaro over here. You know, I'm not Ian Rappaport. I'm not trying to be. The only reason I shared that nugget was because somebody inside the organization reached out and told me, hey, Renardo Green and Ricky Pearsall could be traded this offseason. You know, there's, you know, it's not a guarantee, but it's
Sure,
you know,
sure.
it's there's a distinct
It's
possibility
being talked about. Yeah.
being talked about, and there's some unhappiness from inside the organization for both guys, some discontent on both guys for different reasons. So that's what I've heard. And you know, I mean, Shanahan also had some weird answers around Pearsall. It's like, you know, as I said, he's like, he was great for 4 games. Well, in a way, that's saying that like he's not a bust, but it's also saying that he was only good for a quarter of the season, and it almost comes across like, you know, he's got talent, but we can't trust him.
Sure. Yeah, it's like he's been good, but not good enough. And that's, you know, one of my thoughts this offseason of like, are they comfortable losing their top 3 wide receivers in the same offseason? You lose Ayuk, you lose Jennings, you lose Pearsall. And I know Pearsall hasn't been a big factor in many things, but it's like, are they comfortable willingly? Because you're going to lose Ayuk because he went AWOL or whatever. Jennings can get paid elsewhere, but like, are you comfortable losing Pearsall for whatever it's worth, while on top of letting your other 2 top guys leave the building to get paid or, you know, go elsewhere because they just, you know, didn't want to be here anymore? I don't know if Shanahan or Lynch are that comfortable, unless again the offer they get's great. Like you mentioned, Brian Thomas Jr. or whatever, and maybe it's a 2nd round draft pick. I don't know, but like, I don't know if San Francisco is like, yeah, let's leave the room with DeMarcus Robinson and Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins, and let's hope we can figure it out, because that's terrifying for everybody. And really it is now, even if you keep Pearsall in the room too.
Yeah, I mean, they need receivers. I mean, they need receivers they can absolutely depend on. I heard somebody said, hey, they should be like Green Bay and just Green Bay's drafted 8 receivers in the last couple of drafts or something like that. Yeah, but you know what? They have too many other needs. You know, the Niners are bad on the offensive line. The Niners are bad on the defensive line. The Niners need to rebuild their entire linebacking core. They need a number 1 corner. They need a tight end. They don't even have a tight end. So I mean, they can't invest, you know, 8 picks and wide receivers. I mean, that's just crazy. I don't think that's even a possibility. So I mean, they're in a little bit of a pickle. Yeah. All right. One thing I want to get your thoughts on. This was, to me, the soundbite of the day. When I heard this, I was like, Jesus. Dante Whitner says the Niners need to change their mindset with how they draft players. And he just basically said the Niners have a bunch of pussies. I mean, that's what he said.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
We can sit there and sugarcoat it and all this stuff, but he basically just said these guys are fucking soft. And which is like, and then he's like, you know, well, let's just play it. I'll play it, and then you can decide for yourself. But he goes, I mean, in some ways, he says some ridiculous things. He's like, they need guys with anger management problems. They need guys with character issues.
They had that. They all got arrested for those Harbaugh's team.
Yeah. Bring back Aldon Smith, you know, bring back Ray McDonald.
Yeah.
You know. It's like,
let's not do that again.
You know, let's shop for guys that, guys who are literally in trouble with the law. Here it is. Dante Whitner on the Grit Code podcast with Deshaun Goldson, Rod Brooks sandwiched in the middle here. But this is pretty much a Whitner point. Here it is.
You know what I was thinking, though, and what I've been thinking about with the 49ers and their personnel? And when I look at the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks and the way that they're built up front and in the trenches, I think it's time for the 49ers to get away from the safe draft picks. The guys who they're easy to control in the locker room, guys who the environment really.
And I started seeing that towards the end of my year.
It's time to go and get some guys,
some dogs,
literally from the inner city, from the Ohio States, the Georgias, like the Philadelphia Eagles did. And if you want to control that environment, put it on the player development part. You need to go and get some guys that have some off-field issues. You need to get some guys that have some anger issues. You need to get some guys that refuse not to be great football players. Yeah, it's great to get the Iowa States, the Iowas, the BYUs, and the Stanfords and the Harvards. But man, we need to go and get some dogs. And that's what it's going to take to compete. So I've been thinking about that all week. And when I was looking at this NFC Championship, I'm like, that's the difference. They got guys up front that halfway got issues mentally. And that's what we had. We had a bunch of guys that literally, Deshaun, had something off with them.
Oh,
but Harbaugh knew how to control the environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And a lot of that was just, us too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, we hung out together. So it ain't like everybody just, did football and go about their own ways. But yeah, they had their own lives, but at the same time, like, we used to go out together. Harbaugh did some cool things when he came in, some team activities, we had to and he set the tone by going to all the tables. Sometimes we'd be eating at lunch. He'll come sit down with you. You know what I'm saying, Rod? He'll come sit down with you and talk to you and just vibe with you. So he created that culture where he kind of made us understand a team. Like he was building a brotherhood. Like we had to learn each other. We had to learn each other, where we come from, stuff like that. We put teams and stuff together when we did all these little activities, where it's movies or these little arcades.
You know what I was?
I mean, wow. That's a major statement by Whitner. Goldson kind of took it in a different direction and, talked about Harbaugh, but let's just isolate Whitner's comments there. It's like, first of all, I think he kind of crossed a line, to be completely honest. I mean, you're sitting there. So let's see. Who are you talking about? BYU players are soft. Is Puka soft? I don't think so. Is Fred soft? I don't think so. Iowa State players are soft. Really? Is Brock Purdy soft? I don't think so. Harvard. I wonder who he's talking about there. That's obviously Juice. Are you calling Juice soft? Iowa. Is George Kittle soft? I watched that Jennings Dunker, the big guy with the mullet, the red mullet. That guy doesn't look soft at all. That guy looks like that guy looks like Lane Johnson to me. He wants guys from Georgia, guys from Ohio State, guys, he literally said it, guys from the inner city. So I do, and I understand what he's saying. Believe me, I understand what he's saying. I'm not, I think this is terrible, what he's saying. No, I've said the same things myself for years, not necessarily in regards to the 49ers, but you got to dance the dance. This is, Wait a second. I got, here we go. Larry is soft. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that. I'll just leave that up there. Charles Haley, do you win Super Bowls without Charles Haley? Does Dallas win without Charles Haley? I remember Michael Irvin had that problem with the, that White House deal and, for Dallas where they, took girls to this certain house and, they cheated on their wives and all this stuff at this house that they commissioned or whatever. So then Randy Moss, the Cowboys passed Randy Moss. They desperately needed Randy Moss. They passed him and they took Greg Ellis. And I remember the post-draft where Jerry Jones was like, Greg Ellis is the kind of guy that could be a babysitter for your kid. Okay, Jerry, but he can't fucking play. So, that's great, but he can't play. You traded for Charles Haley, and then you bypassed Randy Moss to take Greg Ellis because Greg Ellis is the kind of guy that can babysit your kids. You had Charles Haley, and the Niners had Charles Haley. So I understand it's a rough game played by rough guys. And if you're not willing to take on, do I think like Chris Jones is just a sweetheart of a guy? No, I don't. But you know what? He's nasty. He's great. So I don't know. I personally, I kind of agree with Whitner that the Niners have steered clear of guys who are a little bit rough, and they've gotten some guys who are, yes, they drafted JJ, but there's an awful lot of Pearsalls. There's an awful lot of guys who they're never, they're going to be polite with the media, and they're not going to tell the PR guy to fuck right off, and they're not going to urinate on anybody's desk, and they're not going to get busted, But you know what? They need a receiver who can separate. And Jordan Addison, I'll take Jordan Addison right now. he drives too fast and he's made all kinds of bad decisions and he's got questionable character and this and that. But the guy can separate. So it's like, do you want character or do you want characters? Do you want players or do you want good guys? And it's like, how do you balance that? I do think the 49ers have a room full of guys that are really nice, where the Harbaugh Niners had some rough characters, but they also may have had a better team and maybe a more edgy defense. So I don't know. Where are you on this as far as, Dante's like, they need guys with anger management problems. That's going a little far. That's carrying it to a crazy degree. But I get what he's saying. I don't want to push back too hard on him because I understood. I get the point, and I kind of agree with the point that it's a rough game played by rough guys. And if you're afraid to lean into having rough guys in your room, you got to have some of those guys. You got to have some guys who, when I was in the Canadian League, we had this coach, and he would be like, "Let me tell you, boy. There's guys play for different reasons in the NFL. Some guys play for the money. Some guys play for the girls. Some guys play for the drugs and what they can buy. Some guys play, and some guys play because they just like to get out there and fuck people up. And you know what? You got to have a few guys on your team that want to do exactly that want to literally bring pain to the opposition. Yeah. You need the Chauncey Gardner-Johnsons. It's not accidental that guy was in Philly and they won, and he was in Detroit and they played well. He's violent. You need some violent guys. Weigh in. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, San Francisco certainly tried that route. Javon Kinlaw was here for a short period of time and didn't end well. He had bad knees, obviously, but, rubbed some people in the media the wrong way, threatened a couple of them while he was at it. And then you had Reuben Foster, who, was fighting doctors in the blue tent at the combine, and San Francisco said, that doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. And that blew up in their face. And I think that did scare Kyle and John away from those kind of characters of like, we can't do this. We need guys to be available. And that's one player, though. And you have teams like Kansas City, who it doesn't matter what your track record is, how long your arrest record is. It doesn't matter. If you can help us win, we can offer you a contract. And I think there's certainly a line to that, obviously. You don't want to have guys out there doing heinous things. You don't want to have Ray McDonald's out there doing things to girls, and you're like, oh, my goodness, what's happening?
We saw video of that running back Mixon, who's from the Bay Area, absolutely dropping his girlfriend. Yeah. And he's in the league, and he's played for multiple teams. Right. Kareem Hunt had domestic violence issues. He's still in the league. We saw Leonard Little years ago with the Rams run a red light and kill a mother of three drunk running a stoplight in St. Louis or something. He played in the NFL after that. So, this is a rough game, man.
I also wonder,
rough guys here.
Right. And I think, San Francisco should want to get a little more rough, if you will. Like, you want to have dudes that want to knock a guy's head off. Now, again, you don't want to be Vontaze Burfict, but you want guys with that mentality of like, I want to clean a dude's clock. I want to have Dante Whitners. I want to have Deshaun Golsons that want to come downhill and lay a dude out. And if he doesn't get up, then that's not my problem. And obviously, again, you want guys to be healthy. You don't want anyone to get hurt. But, you need, and I think Dante Whitner said this too later in the show, of like, we wanted to win mentally over the opposition before we even took the field. We wanted to be like this harbinger of death before the game even started, of like, I don't want to come across the middle because I know it may happen to me. And it does seem like San Francisco in some aspects have maybe gone more towards of like playing fast and being quick and being speedsters on defense. Maybe not this defense, but in previous ones, instead of being guys that were just jacked to all hell and wouldn't mind socking a guy or two if they meant winning a football game. And again, Philadelphia does this, the Chiefs do this, and a lot of teams that win do that. But sometimes, like, you can't play the way Dante Whitner played anymore. You can't play that way. You get you penalized and get kicked out of the game. Like, you can't play that way. And I hate that. I love throwback football. I loved watching Dante Whitner lay out Pierre Thomas in a playoff game. And like, who didn't get up and start yelling and screaming, like saying, "Put me in, coach. I want to play too." Like, but you can't play that way. That's a decade ago. The game has changed. You can't have guys running across the field getting laid out constantly and clotheslined. And like, this isn't 1980. It's not 2010. It's not 2000. It's 2025, 26. The game is played differently. The rules are different. Like, yeah, I don't love it, but that's the way it is. And I think San Francisco needs more Dre Green laws, I think, compared to that of Dante Whitner's. Guys that'll get penalized here or there, but play the game safe, but also play it insanely aggressive, that do want to hit guys, that want to pick dudes up and throw them on the ground and get kind of wild with it. And I think that San Francisco, unfortunately, has dudes like Jair Brown, who's a big guy. He imposes no fear in anybody. No fear in anybody. But you bring in Nick Martin, who plays a little bit like Dre Greenlaw. He plays fast, but then he can't play because he has a concussion. So I think they're trying. I think Dante Whitner's right. I just don't think that you can't play the way he wants this team to play anymore, because it ain't 2015. It's 2026.
We're sitting here on Thursday, January the 29th. The Super Bowl is a week from Sunday. I really look at the NFL as two groups right now. You got 2 teams and 30 teams. You got 2 teams that are getting ready to play the biggest game of their life, and you got 30 teams that are looking at workouts, at the Shrine Bowl, the All-Star games, the Senior Bowl practices, and they're looking at the draft. Let's talk about the 30 teams for a second. We get a lot of footage of practice. Heck, I just taped an hour of Senior Bowl practice, and I'm going to watch later on tonight. Yes, I am that guy. Have you seen, this is the time of year I love, because I watch tons of college football, but to me, the All-Star circuit is really valuable because you're getting to see the best against the best. And then that's really where, it's hard to evaluate college football, because it's hard to evaluate, guys who are going to play in the NFL going up against guys who are going to work at UPS, and you have that every Saturday in college football. When you get to this part of the year, when you get to the Senior Bowl, all these guys are going to play in the NFL. So now you get the best against the best. And I think you can really see who's out there and who looks good. I'll just throw it to you. I've got 2 names that really impressed me this week. Have you been watching any of the clips of the practices? Is there a player or 2, maybe 1 on each side of the ball? I'm going to give you 1 on each side of the ball that you've seen practice this week or you saw this year, and you're like, man, love that player. Man, John Lynch, go get that guy. Who? And I'm not giving you a lot of time, but I know you follow this stuff pretty closely. So what do you think? Is there anybody that stands out, or do you need more time? I could throw you mine.
Go ahead and give me yours.
Okay. I'm going to share the screen on one. I don't think every guy who plays at Iowa is soft. And to me, I love what I'm seeing out of Jennings Dunker. And this is his footage today, or maybe yesterday. Let's see. Let me see if I can, yeah, there we go. Here's Jennings Dunker and some of his reps. And what I see here is I see Lane Johnson, who, might be a Hall of Famer. So that's probably an unfair comparison. But I love the footwork, the base, the tenacity. This guy's nasty. Jennings Dunker. Look at him move the feet, stay square. Just kind of an instructional video there.
Teach tape.
That one, he got a little off balance. But this guy played really well at Iowa, and he looked, a lot of people talking about him in the All-Star practices. That's one guy I really like. Jennings Dunker, gigantic red mullet. And he just, to me, the Niners run a very similar scheme. They're going to have to invest in an offensive lineman eventually.
Right.
Why not the present, right? Why not, you can't put it out forever. At some point you're going to have to actually, invest in the offensive line. You just heard Richard Sherman. He thinks they ought to, Richard Sherman said it right the day after the game. He's like, hey, the Niners can't move Seattle's offensive line, our defensive line. And if you can't move their offensive line, you can't beat them. So that's that's one guy. The other guy I want to show you, I really like this guy too, and I hope I think I have the film on him. Let me see. I do like a number of guys. Malachi Fields is one. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. I like Zion Young from Missouri. And he's 6'5", 265. And I loved him at Missouri. You know, Missouri always produces some really good players. They just get great players. But here's Zion Young. Look at this arm over here. You just look at the quickness. This tackle, by the way, has got great quickness. This is the ASU tackle, and he's got really, really good quickness. And look at Zion. What? That's that. I mean, this. You know, you're falling into the quarterback. You know, that's -8 yards. Zion Young sack. The strength, the speed, the hand size, the moves. I love this kid, Zion Young, and to me, he might be my first round pick. If I could trade back into the second round and wind up with Jennings Dunker and Zion, I would do it. I love this kid. Is there anybody that you liked that stood out to you this week?
Yeah, I think a Pittsburgh linebacker, Kyle Lewis, was flying downhill, making plays. You know, you talk about getting speed on your defense, and you really can't trust D. Winters. You have no idea what you have in Nick Martin. You put in Kyle Lewis, who seemingly was good in coverage. He was flying downhill, making plays. Like, you want to have that presence over the middle of that defense next to Fred Warner. That could be a guy to watch out. I don't know if it's round 2 or 3 or whatever, but like, this team needs a linebacker desperately. And I think Kyle Lewis, who at least in a short period of time at the Senior Bowl and all the events they were doing, flashed a ton for a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah. So that he looked like he was all over the place. I mean, you know, Kyle Lewis. Somebody says Kyle Lewis can be a Hall of Famer. I don't know about a Hall of Famer.
It's not go that far.
You know,
I hope so.
Get a hell of a practice.
He's a Niner. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good name. That's a good name for sure. All right. One of the other topics of the day is this substation, and you know, I thought it was a pretty interesting soundbite from Kyle Juszczyk, and he was on this podcast, and you could tell the people on the podcast, it's like they wanted to ask him about it, but they know that it's kind of a heavy topic, and they wanted to keep it light. So he starts giving them a serious answer, and listen to their reaction to his serious answer. It's like they're like sounded like they just wanted to laugh and have fun, and he's giving them a serious answer to what is obviously a serious question. And instead of being like, "Yeah, you're serious," they're kind of giggly and listen to this. Here's a little Kyle Juszczyk earlier today.
One of those things that it's just so hard to say because the science is not clear behind it, and like I'm very much just like a science-driven person, and like I want to see the numbers and the statistics, and like I mean, is it a coincidence that that we've led the NFL in injuries for the last like decade? I don't know. It very well could be, because a lot of injuries simply come down to bad luck, bad timing. You're in a bad position. Yeah. But there's a lot that goes into it, and if that may be some of it, I don't know. I am very curious. I really am. Like I want to see what someone who truly understands that field, what they have to say about it, and just be curious to know. As professional athletes, like we're looking for every little tiny advantage, that little extra 0.5%. And even if maybe that's just hurting us, a quarter of a percent, whatever it is, like that's something that we want to know and we want to account for. So I'm very curious to see, what they find out this offseason.
Let's talk about this for a second, because it's like, we're a month away from free agency. Like right now, it's like, it's just a little subplot. But if this actually is a thing and the Niners don't realize it until free agency is 2 weeks underway, they could be screwed. So they need to get out in front of this. And I think they have a month before free agents actually start signing to debunk this, create their own narrative, create their own study, eliminate the substation, move it, pay for it. I mean, when you really think about the NFL and how much money is on the line with these franchises, how much could it cost to even create a whole new substation? You know, why not build it? Why not just tear it down and build another one somewhere else? Heck, if you're Jed, your franchise is worth $9 billion. If you can't sign free agents, you're screwed and you've got major problems. You can't compete. And it's, I don't want to say it's game over because it's not game over. You're still going to have a great value of your franchise, but you're dealt a serious blow. The Niners can't get to, mid-March and be like guys like you and I going, the Niners haven't signed any free agents. They haven't signed a single veteran free agent. Nobody, and they've made offers. Nobody wants to sign with the Niners. What should they do now? At that point, you're screwed. I think they got to do something soon. Either commission a study that's more credible than the crap that's out there now, or move that substation, move the practice field, or are you of the camp that maybe we're all just overreacting? I mean, Jerry Rice came out and said, hey, tonight he's like, hey, this substation talk, didn't we win 2 Super Bowls while that substation was there? And I don't know the specifics on exactly, what that substation is. Has it changed? Is it more powerful than it used to be? I don't know. I don't know enough about substations, and I don't really want to interview people about substations. I really don't. I want this thing to go. I'm like you guys. I want this thing to go away, and the Niners want it to go away. But I don't know, Sterling, that you can just kind of cross your fingers and hope it goes away. There's too much riding on this. So what do you do? What do they do?
This kind of all comes down to PR. We have no idea if this substation stuff is real. We have no idea. We can think one way and maybe it's not real. And
perception becomes reality though, right?
Right. So like now it's being talked about on, Yahoo Sports, and doctors are getting involved, and there's been talks of Kyle Juszczyk and more players in that room that in some form or fashion do believe this is real, or at least in some capacity it's real. And if that's the case, like, you as an organization deserve to give your players, your employees, those you're paying millions of dollars to, some peace of mind and their families and whatnot. And I think, if anything, you may not be able to move the substation or destroy it or whatever. You at least have to give your employees and pending free agents, those you are trying to coerce to play next to that substation, the belief that it's not a factor in the injuries we've had. And we heard Kyle talk about, the injuries and the staffing and training staff stuff during his post kind of wrap up press conference for the season. And it kind of felt like nonchalant there. Okay, well, if you're not going to attack that, then at least give your fan base, everybody else, a peace of mind, do a study and debunk it. And if it is true, or in some capacity true, then you can attack it a different way. Now, I do think some of the injuries are bad luck, but you heard Juszczyk say, and he went to Harvard. Who might have questioned that guy? Like, even if it is half a percentage of a factor, I want to know. Players are superstitious, right? You give them the wrong underwear on a day, and they're like, "Oh my God, the day's over."
Well, they care. They care a ton about their bodies,
as they should.
Right.
And
bodies are like
right, and like the organization owes it to the players to at least debunk it. I don't know if it's real. I have no idea if it's fake. My assumption, my own thought, is that it's probably not real, or if it is, it's not really that big of a factor in things. And sometimes it's some static stretching or whatnot can fix your problem. Who knows? But something has to be done. And if you aren't going to look into the training staff, at least get this figured out and put it behind you so we can stop talking about it, because I hate it. I'm sure you hate it. Everyone else hates it too. Like, I don't want to hear EMF waves and substation ever again, because this team is decimated by injuries. Just put it behind you as quickly as you possibly can.
When Joe Rogan is discussing it on his podcast, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
Once the guy with the biggest podcast in the fucking country starts talking about it, it's a deal. So I'm glad that Lynch didn't just try to slough it off and be like, there ain't nothing there, because that wasn't going to work. And that would, and luckily they didn't try that. But they better commission their own study. They better invest some money or create they better do something or debunk it. If they just are crossing their fingers, They could be screwed. They could be in a real world of hurt. All right. Do you care? What level do you care about the defensive coordinator hire? Today, Matt Mayoko, it was reported on X that the Niners have interviewed some guys. They interviewed Joe Woods. They interviewed Raheem Morris, which means they've interviewed 2 minority candidates. They've satisfied the Rooney Rule. They've also interviewed Gus Bradley, their in-house option, their primary in-house option. But a lot of people are hoping on Jim Schwartz, who, it sounds like he is going to be departing from Cleveland. They're not going to work it out in Cleveland. Tim Kawakami suggested that maybe, Schwartz was doing all this and he really isn't all that mad. He's just trying to leverage for more cash. But I'll say this. A lot of people are like, the Niners have to trade a pick for Schwartz. Well, I disagree with that. And here's why. Because Jim Schwartz is very popular with Myles Garrett. He's very popular with Denzel Ward. They're already unhappy that, that Jim Schwartz got passed over, I'm sure, for Todd Monken. Even though they're on the team still, I'm sure they wanted their guy, who's a great defensive coordinator, to get the job. So it didn't happen. So the last thing the Browns need is, hey, we did Schwartz wrong. The best unit is your defense. The last thing you want is your defense to feel like you did Schwartz wrong. Do you care who the coordinator is? Who's your first choice, second choice, third choice?
Yeah, of course I care. You are going into an offseason where you lose Robert Saleh, which stinks in its own right. But he's one of the best defensive minds in football, or at least one of the best defensive play callers in football. And you lose that. He was a big factor into lifting up your depleted defense all year. Like, they don't win that game without him calling plays for the defense against Philadelphia come playoff time. And, you lose that. The question is, how do you fill that hole? I personally don't think Gus Bradley is the man for that job. His coverages are always cover three, and nothing much else. And that's easy to beat when you're playing against Stafford and Sam Darnold and other good quarterbacks in the conference. Like, that will lose you games. I am on the train of do what you can to bring in Jim Schwartz. He isn't a head coach, but, he kind of has that demeanor to him. And even if there does have to be some personnel changes, so what? This is your opportunity to, in my opinion, upgrade even over Robert Saleh. Do what you can to do that. If you're serious about winning, make an offer. If you're serious about trying to improve your team, you have to do whatever it takes. Eddie DeBartolo would do that. Most great owners would do that. Robert Kraft would do it. The Hunts would do it in Kansas City. Jed York, John, Kyle, you have to do what it takes to win. Not be comfortable, not make the in-house hire because you don't want to ruffle feathers, whatever it is. You can't go from Robert Saleh to Gus Bradley. That's just not going to cut it. You'll take a step back defensively, and you're going to ask guys in your room that are unproven right now defensively to make up the difference, which they probably can't do. Raheem Morris is fine. It's more variety compared to Gus Bradley, so it's kind of the middle pick, but I am full on give me Jim Schwartz. He's aggressive. He wants to attack the quarterback. He'll put pressure on the safeties. You need 2 new ones anyways, so why not, right? Like, go get Jim Schwartz, make an offer, be aggressive out there. You don't get to upgrade your coaching staff very often. You can do that this offseason. You better do it.
Here's what Shanahan, when he was asked recently about Schwartz, had to say about Schwartz. This is kind of interesting.
I'm sure you're aware that your teams against defenses led by Schwartz have not fared well. Do you have any sort of relationship with him? And if so, have you ever said, like, you are a pain in the ass?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He knows it. He lets me know, too. But I got a lot of respect for Jim. I think he's one of the best who does it. He's done it for a while. I've been going against him. I don't think they add our records when I was in Houston. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't count them. But you probably do. But when I first started as a coordinator in Houston, back when I was 28, 29, I'm going against him in Tennessee is where it started when they had Vanden Bosch, Albert Hainsworth, Javon Curse. They were doing the wide nines then, and that's why I always wanted wide nines, and we got that with Chris Eric.
Your win against Schwartz was the December 2008, 13-12.
Oh, that is Tennessee.
Yeah. So were you the play caller, or were you sharing with Kubiak?
In 2008, shared with Kubiak. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that game?
Yeah, I do. It's a good game. I don't look at it that way. But it's I'd love to get a win, but it's lots of different situations, lots of different teams, lots of different quarterbacks. But whoever he's been with, his defense has always been similar and very tough to go against.
There you go. A little bit of Kyle Shanahan. They're just kind of talking about Schwartz overall and how difficult it is to go against Schwartz. And then let's hear one more before your reaction. This is 95.7 The Game, which is your station. And here is this is Greg Cosell was asked a little bit today about Schwartz, and we'll share the screen on that. And what stands out. I think he was on with Willard and Dibbs, and he was asked what stands out about Schwartz, and Cosell, who watches film for a living, had, I thought, some of the more interesting comments that I've heard. Here it is.
Schwartz is a wide nine guy. I'm a big Jim Schwartz fan. He was in Philly. Got to talk to him a little bit at times. I think that when I've talked to offensive coaches around the league, I can tell you that he's viewed by offensive coaches in the league as a very difficult coordinator to play against.
Talk to us about Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator. What's his style? Would that be a good fit with what the 49ers have done in the past versus now?
Yeah, I'm a big Jim Schwartz fan. He was in Philly. Got to talk to him a little bit at times. I think that when I've talked to offensive coaches around the league, they think Jim Schwartz is one of the toughest defensive coordinators to play against. He's essentially a 4-down line pass rush guy, but on the back end, he plays a lot of man coverage, but he does a lot of things that where the picture is very, very muddied for quarterbacks. Sometimes you're uncertain as to whether it's cover 2, cover 3. The look is very muddied and dirty, and it can be very hard to play against. He obviously wants his down 4 to be the foundation of the pass rush. He's not averse to blitzing, but he'd really like to have 7 in coverage and really, as I said, muddy the picture for the quarterback. But I can tell you that he's viewed by offensive coaches in the league as a very difficult coordinator.
A lot of stuff there. It looked interesting there. I think that that obviously every coordinator who's really top tier, whether it's Vic Fangio or Jim Schwartz, I mean, it's all about disguise. It's about disguising what you're doing, and it's about doing a great job at disguising what you're doing and creating that slight second of indecision in the quarterback that allows you to get that upper hand defensively on any given play. After hearing Cosell's breakdown, after hearing Shanahan talk about Schwartz, do you think the Niners are going to get Schwartz?
I don't.
Where do you think he winds up?
Some
people have said Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo could make some sense. I also think, he feels like a guy that does what Robert Saleh does maybe next year, or what Vic Fangio did in San Francisco, where they just go and they assist somewhere. Then the next offseason, there's a hiring cycle again, and they go do whatever they want after that. I'm not sure exactly where he goes. Maybe the Raiders come calling. Who knows if they don't get Evero and they go Kubiak and Schwartz. They're pretty nasty out there in Las Vegas, but maybe the Cardinals call him. Who knows? I think the Niners are going to hire Raheem Morris. I don't think Raheem Morris gets the Cardinals job. Him and Shanahan are kind of tied at the hip. They have a lot of great relationships together. I think they were arrested together at one point at the Combine one year. There's a Shanahan, McVay, Morris tie with the coaching tree and everything. And, with Tampa Bay and Monty Kiffin and Washington as well, like that to me just screams Kyle Shanahan's guy. But I think San Francisco has so much to offer to Jim Schwartz. Get out of Cleveland. You don't want to be a loser forever. You want to head coach that team with Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, I know he's a Pro Bowler, but who cares? It doesn't matter. And you want to figure things out there? No way. Come to San Francisco. You have Nick Bosa. You have an entire second-year draft class that includes 3 defensive linemen. We'll give you part of the keys to the draft and free agency this year. You can get us a new safety. You can get us a new cornerback. You can make this defense what you want, and you have one of the best offensive play callers opposite of you that can pick up the slack where Cleveland couldn't do it. I think San Francisco, when you talk about the best defensive play callers in the NFL, your mind goes to Brian Flores, Steve Spagnuolo, Vic Fangio. Jim Schwartz is in that conversation of guys that can single-handedly beat teams because his defense is so good. Go to this past year. The Packers could not win the NFC North. You want to know why? Because they lost a Week 5 game against the Browns, who were terrible. You want that defensive coordinator that can make a difference for you. You don't want your Nick Sorensens. You don't want your Steve Wilkes. You lost D'Amico Ryans. That's probably the biggest loss they've had defensively. And now you lose Saleh for a second time. Jim Schwartz is the guy that can actually kind of cement himself in his legacy in San Francisco and also be what they've been longing for and looking for years. You want your offensive mind to have their Steve Spagnuolo. You want to have that legendary offensive mind and legendary defensive mind together. I think Jim Schwartz can be that for the 49ers, but unfortunately, I don't think he'll end up there when it's all said and done.
There's a lot of talk around this offseason that the 49ers really, some people think that they need to go after Max Crosby, Justin Jefferson, one more great player. But they have a lot of great players that are older, and they all got hurt. Other people are throwing out what David Muschamp is throwing out here. Schwartz will come in and trade Bosa to get Ruben Bain. How would you play it if you were the Niners general manager? Would you, what are you doing? I mean, are you trying to spend money in free agency, sign a bunch of guys, sign one or two guys, try to build in the draft? You trade away some of these guys. I mean, 49ers are coming off a year where CMC had 450 touches. George Kittle may not play next year. Trent Williams 38. They have no receivers. JJ's probably gonna outprice himself. Pearsall's glass. They don't have a second running back because Brian Robinson's a free agent. And the other guy, Jordan James, didn't play enough to even know if he's dependable. So you got holes at running back, wide receiver, tight end. Offensive line, need to do left guard. Probably going to lose Burford. Brendel stinks. They got a bunch of needs. And then on defense, you need a pass rushing tackle. You need an edge rusher. They both need to be really good. You need probably 2 or 3 linebackers. You need a great safety to be like the leader of your secondary. You need a true number 1 corner with some size. A lot of needs there. There's a lot of needs. How would you go about building this thing? Would you just stay with the fundamental approach, just try to take your picks as they come, see if you can do as well as you can, maybe sign a free agent or two? Or do you have a bold idea that would shake the tree and maybe be a better answer? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm of the mind, and maybe it's foolish, I want to draft defense and I want to pay for offense. Go sign 2 or 3 receivers. Go get Linderbaum. Go sign Tyler Algier. Get you that bell cow back behind Chris McCaffrey, that bulldog behind the scenes. Trade Mac Jones for a draft pick, and just if it's Jim Schwartz or if it's Gus Bradley or somebody else, Raheem Morris, I don't know who it'll be. Hopefully it's Jim Schwartz. Let them just flood that defense with talent, because you can, guys, you got to have young talent always rotating in. And I think, be aggressive. Like, there's no reason to not be aggressive this offseason. You took a step back financially last year. You're going to cut Brandon Ayuk. You're going to lose some other guys. I am paying for offense, and I'm just getting my defense full of young talent. You want to find that next core defensively. It's what Seattle did, what the Rams are trying to do, it's what Philadelphia did. They draft defense every year in their top 3 to 4 first picks. You have to do it. Get those defensive rookies out there. Let the young guys cook. Let Jim Schwartz, whoever it is out there, let them run that defense. Young guys flying around, making plays, and pay on offense. Kyle does not want to play young offensive players. So don't take any. Go pay for them, because then you're forced to play them. Go get Alec Pierce, Tyler Algier, fix the offensive line, but let the defense be young dudes that are running around like freaking hyenas that want to ravage an offense. Let Jim Schwartz do that for you. And I think, whether it's foolish or not, I'm paying for offense and I'm drafting defense totally.
I like that idea because offensive players take time to develop, but what are you doing with the offensive line?
I think there's a couple players out there. Maybe you pay for somebody, I don't know. Linderbaum can make some sense, but then Brendel probably has to go, which isn't a bad thing whatsoever. You can go for Elijah Vera Tucker, but he has injury history at left guard, so that's always a problem. You can go John Simpson, who was really bad this year for the Jets, but pretty good last year with the wide zone they ran a couple of years back. And so, again, left guard, offensive line, but also I'm of the mindset that they don't really view the offensive line as priority, which is crazy to say. I don't agree with it, but I think San Francisco, Chris Forrester, Kyle Shanahan, they're like, we have Trent, who was pretty good this year. Brendel, they love him for whatever reason. They like Pooney. They signed McKivitz last offseason. Like, they're thinking we have one hole to fill, and I honestly would not be shocked if they just said, Ben Bartch, you're the guy again, which I hate that, but that's what they do. If they don't see a true upgrade, a true elite player, they're thinking Chris Forrester's our guy. He's our genius. He'll fix it. And it's like, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? So I would pay for the offensive line, but I don't think they'll do that.
We should tell everybody that the Krug Show is brought to you by Habbas Law. Thanks to Habbas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They will fight to make it right. Once again, 1-800-INJURED. If you need a good lawyer, Habbas Law is the call to make. 1-800-INJURED. Once again, habbaslaw.com on the web. They will fight to make it right. They're great attorneys, and if you want to win, this is the number to call. 1-800-INJURED. Great PI attorneys. The difference between success and failure in life a lot of times comes down to who is your attorney and how good of an attorney do you get. So these guys are fantastic. My dad was a judge, my dad was a lawyer, and my brother's a judge. My sister's a lawyer, and I know a lot about how important it is to have a good lawyer when the time is right. And insurance companies, get in an accident, insurance companies always try to stall and not pay, and they got a million games that they can play, a million cards that they can play, and Habbas Law knows the game. So they're going to pull rank on them. They're going to challenge them. They're going to beat them. And you're going to make money. So 1-800-INJURED, habbaslaw.com on the web. They will fight to make it right. Brings us our supers here, and let's hit our 12 supers, and then we'll go with our big finish. We got this one from Daniel Mages, 535. Has become a YouTube member. A little clap for Daniel. Welcome aboard, Daniel. We always give a little clap for our newest YouTube members. Thanks for joining. Joseph Ernberg in the house. I saw this guy at the gym the other day.
Wow.
He's like, hey, man, I'm Joseph Ernberg. I'm like, no way. I'm like, bro, I thought you were like 68 years old. He's like 25.
Nice. Nice.
It's crazy. It's crazy. The guy came up to me. Are you Larry Krueger? I'm like, yeah, that's me. He's like, I'm Joseph Ernberg. I'm like, no way.
Was he as negative in person as he is on the YouTube channels?
No, he was a young, bright-faced guy who seems like very positive, but
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He says defensive coordinators don't matter when you have shit players. Yeah. See, I mean, I'm a players guy, and I didn't mean like I don't think the coordinator matters, but I just mean they got to get help. They need to get help on defense. BVU, if Clint takes the Raiders job, will Darnold regress? Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. And we'll get Sterling's thought on the Super Bowl before we get out of here as well. Owens Kane 626. Pitt for Mac, depending on what Rodgers does. I could see that. Will Mike McCarthy want Mac Jones? I'd want that high second round pick though. I mean, once again, I've got Mac Jones in a year where all the quarterbacks suck in the draft. And they're nobody in free agency. And everybody still needs a quarterback. And what are they going to do? Wait another year? Nobody's going to wait a year. They're going to go for it. So if I'm the Niners, I think I'm going to start calling those teams, after the Jets at the top of the first round and say, hey, I'll give you my 27th pick in Mac Jones. You want him? Fine. I want Reuben Bain. I want to get in the top 10. I want to get in the top 5. I want a difference maker up front. I'm the Niners. I asked for the moon because I think you might get it. BU. FU, Larry. Addison for Mac in a first-round swap. First of all, so the Niners would then get what? Like a pick in the teens? Is that what? So they would move up and get Addison. I like it. I like that a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I could see Minnesota going for that. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I really do think when the deal gets done, I think people are going to be like, dude, Mac Jones. And we're going to finish with one other thought on that. Carson Taylor says Reggie Virgil will be a star in the NFL. Joshua Josephs, that's the Tennessee end. Skylar Gill-Howard, that's the Texas Tech kind of 5 technique. Kamari Ramsey all stood out to me, but I'm not a scout. I want your opinion. Well, Joseph's is a 250-pound edge rusher with a lot of athleticism. I mean, a lot of length and a lot of athleticism. I don't know if he's going to stand up in the wide 9. The Niners like guys who are more at 270, he's more at 240. But, man, this guy is long and rangy and a great athlete. I love Skylar Gill-Howard, great motor, very scheme versatile. I think he could play as an interior tackle in a 4-3 front. I think he could play, a defensive end spot in a 34 front. I haven't seen tons of Ramsey or Virgil. I'll have to hold off on those guys giving opinions, but just a couple quick thoughts there. The ACOP 707 week 1. BTJ, Addison, JJ, Pitts, Dobbs. Why not? Who's BTJ?
Brian Thomas
Jr. Addison, JJ, Pitts, Dobbs. Dobbs? Who's Dobbs?
Romeo Dobbs.
Oh, Romeo Dobbs. Oh, he
spelled wrong.
Spelled wrong. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I like all those guys. I really like Pitts. I think Pitts would be really good. PWS West Coast. Which Bay Area athlete frustrates Krug more? LOL, Jung-Hoo Lee or Ricky Pearsall? Jung-Hoo Lee doesn't frustrate me at all. I really like Jung-Hoo Lee. I just think that Jung-Hoo Lee, the Giants are idiots to overpay him. They gave up. I mean, think about this for a second. The Giants paid $113 million to a guy who can't play center field, can't hit 15 home runs, can't steal 15 bases. And they have an army of fucking yes men and sycophant fans who are hell-bent on telling you that he's a great bargain. So, I mean, everybody needs to take their collective head out of the Giants' ass and get real. I mean, seriously, what I stated there is a absolute fact. He's not going to play center. They just signed Harrison Bader. So you signed a corner outfielder who played in the KBO. There aren't that many players that go from the KBO to the big leagues. Shin-Soo Choo, this guy is not. All right? Not going to hit 15 home runs. Not going to steal 15 bases. How do you justify $113 million on a 6-year deal? And the bigger question is, who the fuck were you negotiating against? Like, if you had told Boris, screw you, Boris, we'll give you $100 million, you think he was going to be like, no, he's going to go elsewhere? They got played. Who signed that deal? Was that a Farhan deal? Who signed that? Was that
Farhan? Yeah,
it's Farhan.
That's Farhan. Yeah, I would trade Jung-Hoo Lee if I was
like
honest.
A freaking fiddle.
My hope is that Posey has been like slowly kind of like getting rid of the bad Farhan deals, Jordan Hicks being the big one last year to get Devers in here. I'm kind of hoping the big swing that's rumored to happen is like they trade Jung-Hoo Lee and they finally sign a pitcher. It's like, please. Like, that's a terrible contract. He offers nothing to you. Like, you can find a replacement level guy that can do exactly what he does for a quarter of the contract.
Dude, I am not even 100% convinced that Luis Matos isn't better, and you can have him for the major league minimum.
Yeah, it frustrates me how little they actually like are committed to letting Luis Matos play. I know he hasn't been great, but they don't give many playing time. And when he's hot, they're like, go back to AAA. It's like, well, what does that do? Yeah. Nothing.
Giants. The Giants are your neighbor that's worth like $2 billion and just keeps fascinating because the guy on the corner is worth $12 billion. I'm so, well, Frank, he's worth $12 billion. Hey, shut up. You're worth $2 billion. Fix up your car, fix up your house. You're worth $2 billion. But no, because Frank is worth $12 billion, so we're paralyzed by that. The Giants are rich, and they sit there, and it kills me that their fans in a market where there's so many college-educated people. Look how many people are apologizing for the Giants' frugal ways when they bought the team in 1992 for $100 million, and it's worth $5 billion. And you're sitting there not spending money? You're a damn fool. You're a damn fool. You bought an asset. You're a genius because you bought an asset for $100 million that's worth $5 billion, but you're a fool because you're allowing that asset to just be nothing. You're just getting wasted by the Dodgers year after year, and you're not. And for what? For what? If you go to the World Series, your $5 billion is going to turn into $6 billion. Think bigger. The Dodgers think big, and the Giants are so small time, and the Dodgers are so big time. While the Giants are sitting there competing against the Dodgers just commandeered the entire country of Japan. And every Japanese teenager dreams about being a Dodger. And it's like, instead the Giants are paying a guy out of the KBO who can't hit 15 home runs or steal 15 bases, $113 million.
It's true. I was in Japan last March, didn't see a single Giant hat. It was Dodger hats everywhere. And obviously it's because Shohei Yamamoto, but like, no one talks Giants in Japan. Not a single person does. No one cares about them. Nor should they.
Irrelevant. PWS, West Coast. Thoughts on the Framber Valdez to the Giants rumors? Well, I hope they sign him, but they can't hit. How about sign Luis Ariz, who's a 3-time batting champion? And people are like, oh, no, he'll block Eldridge. Eldridge hit 107 with a 40% strikeout rate. If he's going to be good, it's going to be like 2028. The idea that Eldridge is going to he hit 107 and struck out 40% of the time in September, but in April the next year he's going to be great. Make that,
You never know.
I mean, but he's 20 and he reminds me of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I mean, I've never seen a bigger strike zone than what that guy has. And then I talk to people, they're like, yeah, he's horseshit defensively. Okay, so he strikes out a ton. He's horseshit defensively. He hit 107. Yeah, I'd say that's a winner.
Sounds like a DH.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
Like a DH. Oh, but you have Devers. Go get a rise and see if you can beat somebody. Okay. We got this one. What tale my thoughts would tell? Larry, do you think the number one reason that the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in 31 years is due to ownership or a combination frequently plagued late game failures, critical mistakes, and injuries? Well, first thing I'll say is it's really, really, really hard to win, period. It's really, really, really hard to win. They haven't had a good enough quarterback. Why didn't Jimmy Garoppolo beat Mahomes? Really? You want to talk about that? It's like, so I think Brock Purdy, their best chance was probably the Harbaugh Bowl, and Harbaugh choked. I mean, Harbaugh gagged. He ran Gore to the 8-yard line with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. And Gore never touched the ball again, but LaMichael James did. They didn't run the running quarterback. They just rolled him out and had him throw lasers to the sidelines off Crabtree's pads. And then they finished with a couple fades to Crabtree with the quarterback. They couldn't throw a fade to save his fucking life. So Harbaugh called a timeout out of a 2-minute warning. First of all, when you have old Bernard Pollard, old Ray Lewis, old Ed Reed, old Haloti Ngata, and they're gasping, and I was there. And if you watch the game, the Niners had so much more juice in their tank in that fourth quarter. And if you go back and watch the game, you'll hear the announcers go, wow, the 49ers just look like they're going downhill here. They're rolling downhill, and the Ravens are just holding on for dear life. And the Niners got from their own 15 to like the Ravens 8 in like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, something like that. And then Harbaugh gets the 2-minute warning and gagged. Didn't know what play he wanted to call, had to call a timeout. So you gave an old defense the 2-minute warning and then called another timeout and let them towel off, gear up for one big series. And then you called horseshit plays and you fucking gagged. Jim Harbaugh gagged.
I was talking to Larry Grant.
The worst.
I was talking to Larry Grant, special teamer on that team, and he was saying even on the sideline of that game, we were all screaming, "Why is Frank not in? Why is Frank not in?" And it's like, when your team is saying that, like, they can feel immortality is a yard away. And the head coach
saw
is like,
Frank the next day. He was in tears. I saw him in the post game. it meant more to him than to everybody combined. And
Yeah.
you didn't know that, and you didn't get him the ball. Your Hall of Fame running back, third on the all-time rushing list, and you don't give him a touch. Jim Harbaugh gagged.
Yeah, we all talk about Shanahan force feeding Christian McCaffrey. I guarantee you, if it was the same situation, Christian McCaffrey's getting the ball at least once. I can guarantee you that.
Guarantee you. Could you imagine? If the Niners got down to 1st and goal in the Super Bowl this year from the 8, and they went with a Jordan James run, and then Purdy rolling right. And by the way, on the Kaepernick roll right, if he just takes off for the goal line, he would have got to the 2. It would have been 2nd and goal from the 2. And instead, he rolls right, doesn't run, and then throws the hardest BB pass off Crabtree's shoulder pads. Could you imagine if the Niners, threw like Kendrick Bourne, like a couple fades, and Jordan James, and never gave the ball to Kittle, never gave the ball to CMC, didn't have, it's just Shanahan would be ripped mercilessly, and people gave Harbaugh a major pass. As you can tell, I'm over it. Alex Lopez, Kinlaw, and Reuben Foster. It's just a nice sentiment. Anthony Catania's in the house, and he is, of course, the owner of Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Fantastic sponsor of the Krug Show. Call Anthony. He's at 831-521-5264. Connect with him via Instagram, Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Thank you, Anthony. He says, another great show. Do you guys think that Eddie D's comments from the other night will light a fire under Jed? Win the damn Super Bowl. It's been 31 years. I was 4 years old. Wow. Seriously. I was looking at my son the other day, and I'm like, dude, you're 24. I was 24 when the Niners last won their Super Bowl. I had jet black hair. No wrinkles.
Yeah, I'm 29. I'll be 30 this year. They haven't won one since I've been alive. So
in your lifetime, as far as you're concerned, they're the Browns.
Probably
the Browns and the Niners have won the same number of Super Bowls in your lifetime.
Yeah, the Jets, the Browns, Panthers,
Browns, and Niners are
included.
They're all one and the same. Jets, Browns, Niners. All right. Those are all of our supers. And thanks to Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. The 49ers were in the Reclamation Project game a couple years ago. They got Sam Darnold. They were in the Reclamation Project game this year, and they got Mac Jones. And they signed him to a 2-year deal so they potentially can trade him. If the Niners do that, should they go to next year with Purdy, Rourke, and Adrian Martinez? Or should they go next year and look for another Reclamation Project quarterback? And if so, who would that be to you? Do you want Zach Wilson? You want Marcus Mariota? Or do you want Anthony Richardson? Who do you want as your, because the Niners are the reclamation. To me, I think it's their one advantage that they have right now is that quarterbacks want to play behind Brock and they want to play for Shanahan. And now with Darnold and Jones doing what they've done, the Niners have to be at the top of the list for anybody whose career hasn't, jived so far. And so I think the Niners, and I love it too, because I think this is the Niners' one advantage on the rest of the league. Their advantage in the Carmen Policy Eddie D days was Eddie D. They don't have advantages like that anymore because of the cap, but this is their advantage now. They have Shanahan and Purdy, and quarterbacks want to come here. And if you can keep turning a quarterback into, first of all, the rules got to be, if you want to be built up by Shanahan and Purdy, you got to sign a 2-year deal. 1 year for you, 1 year for them to trade you for something. So you got to that's got to be the mandate. No 1-year deals ever. 2-year deal for the Reclamation Project quarterbacks and do the same thing. And this, to me, is how the 49ers can actually catch up to the Rams and Seahawks and Eagles and all the best teams in football and even pass them up because they are the Reclamation quarterback team right now. Who would be your Reclamation quarterback in 2026?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's Zach Wilson. He's been in the offense before. He was in Miami this past year with McDaniel. The only reason why he did not start when they benched Tua was because the owner and McDaniel were like, let's put the young Quinn Ewers in there, see what we have. I think Zach would have actually played fairly well if he would have gotten a shot this past year in Miami. And I think, you just kind of keep plucking away at that 2021 class. You had Mac Jones this past year. You bring in Zach Wilson for a 2-year deal, and he's got the mobility. He's someone that San Francisco at a point in time did consider for the number 3 overall draft pick had the Jets not taken him. And I think he's a guy at this point in time in his career. He's not 21 anymore. He's in his mid to late 20s. He's been a failure with the Jets and a backup before with Miami now. And it's like, he'll come to San Francisco. He sees what Shanahan can do for quarterbacks, and for a guy who clearly has the talent to play. Like, you don't go number 2 overall if you don't have talent. It just needs to be unlocked. And I think for him, you see Mac Jones, you see Sam Darnold. And I think that, go back 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Nobody wanted Sam Darnold in San Francisco. And everyone's saying, should have kept Sam Darnold instead of Brock Purdy. People were saying, Mac Jones, really? Now they're saying, Mac Jones over Brock Purdy. And it's like, why don't you just keep Zach Wilson or go sign Zach Wilson for 2 years and see what he can do? I don't think other guys in that group you mentioned, Anthony Richardson, I don't think he fits the Shanahan offense. I don't think he fits what they want to do. He's not a timing guy and everything. He's a bigger body guy that wants to run and throw the ball deep. That isn't the Kyle Shanahan quarterback. So I'd go sign Zach Wilson. I think he fits the offense completely. And he's not somebody who will complain. He'll sit back there, take his dues. And if he's not good, guess what? Get it for 2 years and you can say whatever after that.
You know what? I actually think you're totally right on this one. I think there's I think the biggest improvement you're going to see of any of these guys is Zach Wilson in the Niners offense. I think if you put Zach Wilson in this scheme with Shanahan, these weapons behind Purdy, when he gets his shot, he's going to play great. And I think the 49ers are going to be able to trade him for a lot. So I think Zach Wilson might be a very, very key offseason addition for the Niners. I think you're totally spot on. Now, I'm intrigued by Anthony Richardson, but I think everything you said is right. I think Wilson is the guy who's the natural fit. 2 last thoughts, and we're bolting for the door. 16 different teams are eligible to be part of HBO's series Hard Knocks. The Niners are one of the 16. Lynch and Shanahan have been direct and serious about, we're not interested in being on Hard Knocks. What do you think about that? I personally, as a fan, I want the Niners to be on Hard Knocks. I think Hard Knocks, by the way, and there's so many people who love to pan Hard Knocks. Every time I watch that show, I love it. Every time. I mean, the only year that it sucked was the Raider year, because the Raiders didn't want to be on and wouldn't participate and gave you absolutely nothing. It was awkward. It was terrible. There were no stories. The Raider Hard Knocks was the only one that was a tire fire. The off-season one with the NFC East, getting a chance to see Joe Shane and what their whole thing was Saquon Barkley. I mean, I love football. I love the process of football. I love every aspect of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, training camp, OT. I love football. I don't love football on game day only. I love football all year round, all week long. I love the process of pro football. I love football players. For the most part, they're great dudes. They're guys that I really like being around. I think they've got interesting stories. They're like modern day gladiators to some degree. I love everything about the NFL, and I can't get enough of it. And I think Hard Knocks is awesome. And I know there's people like, it's run its course and this and that. Maybe you just don't love football or the process of pro football. There's a lot of people that love football, but they love the game day and they love the gambling and the violence, but they don't love the process. If you love the process, you're getting a firsthand look at the process, whether it be the off-season process or the in-season process. So I love it. And I'd love to see the Niners in it. I understand why Shanahan and Lynch don't want to be on it, because I think it does reveal your mindset to the rest of the teams in the league, and there's no advantage in having other people know how you think. So if I were them, I'd still try to stay out of it as long as I possibly can, but they're one of 16 teams that HBO is going to choose from, and you're going to have to do it eventually. What do you think? Would you like to see the Niners on Hard Knocks?
I think it'd be great for all the wrong reasons. I think Kyle would hate it and John would hate it, and they probably feel somewhat exposed to the NFL world and the fans. But I think you're right. As someone who just wants to kind of, be a sponge to everything NFL related, like think about it this way. Did you watch quarterback on Netflix? Did you watch
Yeah.
receiver on Netflix?
Yeah.
Why? You love the NFL. It's the exact same thing,
great
albeit
stuff.
more in depth. And it's like, my wife doesn't like football, but she loves the people involved in football. She loves George Kittle. She loves Brock Purdy. Why? Because things like this, she can see them as people, them as humans, not just football guys that have a helmet on. I think that Hard Knocks would be awesome. Now, I don't think they'd want to do it up for obvious reasons. I'd love to see it in Philadelphia again to watch their downfall, hopefully. But I think one thing the Niners would not be is without their storylines. Trent may hold out for a new contract. Who knows? You have the offseason. You have your draft picks. You have Brock Purdy. You have the injury stuff. You think the substation stuff's going away? Not if they're on Hard Knocks. It'll be a whole conversation throughout training camp and everything. And, Kyle's pretty mild-mannered during training camp and everything in OTAs, but you get him in meetings and whatnot. I don't know who it was, but they mentioned that Kyle dropped like 85 F words in like a span of like 2 sentences. It's like, I want to see that Kyle Shanahan, the one that we don't get to see in front of the rest of the media and stuff. So I love it. It's content and I love football content. So bring it on.
Yeah. Let's finish with a little bit of Warrior basketball. Did you see how Oh, but wait, no, we're going to talk a little Warriors. If you had to bet everything you own on Giannis being a Warrior at the trade deadline or not, what would you bet on?
No, I don't think he will be.
Really? Tell me why.
Do I want him to be? Of course. Do I think the fans deserve that? Yes. Do I think Lake Up and Company should? Dunleavy needs to get off his butt and do something? Yes. Trade Kuminga, trade what it takes. You owe Stephen Curry that. I think, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Monty Poole was saying that people upstairs thought they didn't do right by Steph the last couple of years, the 2 timeline stuff and everything. I'd love it. It would make the Warriors an instant contender again. It would hopefully capitalize on Steph's last couple of years. I just don't think Dunleavy has the balls to pull it off. I don't think he's going to do it at all.
I'm going to say yes. I think Giannis is going to be a Warrior. Here's why. In the weirdo world that is the NBA, the Warriors have the best assets. Now, you say, what? No way. But, I mean, I was looking at the trade tracker, okay? What do the Bucks want? The Bucks want to lose the rest of this year so they don't lose their number 1 next year. So they don't really want players coming back because they're going to win. They want nothing coming back because they want to lose. They also want salary slots available and they want picks. And then the Warriors picks some of those are going to convey after Steph is likely to retire. And the Warriors picks are going to be really high picks. I mean, this might not be a smart move for the Warriors to trade all these picks. But from what I'm hearing, the Warriors are going to trade like 4 1s and a couple pick swaps and Jimmy Butler, Kuminga. I was looking at a trade on the trade tracker. I don't know if you can see that. You can't really see it. But basically, this trade works. Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Guy Santos, and a bunch of picks to Milwaukee for Giannis, his 2 brothers, and Kyle Kuzma.
Wow.
I would do that if I was Golden State. Look at your situation. Jimmy Butler is old and broken. And what's he going to be next year? Old and coming off a year where he was broken. So your year sucks this year. Your year sucks more next year. And you could hit a reset here. The other reason, this isn't the NFL. This isn't MLB. In the NBA, the players call the shots. And all it's going to take is Giannis to say, I want to play with Steph. He didn't even really have to say it. He could probably just kind of hint towards it. I kind of like that guy on the West Coast. I mean, the players have all to say. Giannis is not going to be traded to any team that he doesn't want to be on. And I think he would like to be on the team with Steph. The Warriors have an opulent, expensive arena. They're going nowhere. They're trying desperately. They're like sinking underneath the water, and they're trying desperately to keep themselves above water and open the window slightly for Steph to compete for a title. I don't think he's going to get a title with Giannis, but guess what? The door would be back open, and I think they would have a shot at the conference finals. And when you factor in Giannis has the final say, he loves Steph. They have the assets that they want one player, Kuminga, and maybe I'd throw in Moody if I had to. But they want they want picks. The Warriors have the best picks. Some of these teams that are rumored to be interested don't have picks. The Warriors have picks, and they were going to be really high picks. And then the Warriors also have that $54 million, piece that they can throw back to make the contracts work. And since they're a cap team, they have to, have the contracts work. And I just think Giannis is going to be able to force this. I think it will reignite the whole, basketball here in the Bay for, I don't know if they're going to win a title, but it will open their window a little bit and make people excited. I think Giannis is coming to the Warriors. I really do.
I'll tell you what, it'll make one station very happy because the views are going to go up if he does.
I know. Seriously. Matt Nahagian over at 95.7 The Game is like, please.
Yeah, begging.
Please. Anyway. All right. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for jumping in. For all of you guys who donated, thank you to you guys. Just a programming note. I'll be back live streaming tomorrow morning with Damon Bruce at 9 a.m. Chase Sr. is going to stop by tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. I'll be back on KMBR tomorrow night at 6 o'clock for Niners Nightly. And Saturday, John Chapman and I normally stream on Saturdays, but Johnny's got something going on. So I may stream on Saturday morning as well. And then we're going to spring training. I don't know if we've announced that yet, but in the middle of March, the Krug Show will be on the road to the Cactus League. Me, Kev, and the boys are going down there. We're going to play some golf. We're going to watch some Giants ball. I'm going to interview some guys in the clubhouse, maybe Jung-Hoo Lee. Who knows? Could you imagine if I started the interview with, you're not going to steal 15 bases. You're not going to hit 15 home runs. You're making $113 million. You're the most overpaid guy in the league. Your thoughts?
He'd be like, right field?
He'd be like, Matt Chisholm, get this guy out of here. I'm sure there'd probably be at least like a couple writers who'd be like, that guy needs to die for asking that question. That was wrong, Jung-Hoo. Anyway, but we're going to Cactus League. We'll be there. We'd love to see a lot of you guys down there in Arizona. You ever gone down to spring training?
I have not. My wife has been trying to give me tickets for years, and we just haven't gotten together. But I'd love to go for whatever or how long it is. But I'm sure it's really fun. I'm sure it's also really hot too. So maybe I'm lucking out not going.
No, it's actually beautiful. It's like 85, 90 degrees.
Oh,
beautiful
nice
weather. It's like summertime weather in the Bay, but it's beautiful. The stuff to do. I mean, the whole town rolls up at 10 o'clock at night. It's Scottsdale's an early night place. But you know what? We're going to play some desert golf. We're going to go to see some Cactus League games and looking forward to it. So anyway, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Sterling. Thanks to all of you. Sterling, tell people if they don't follow you or if they're finding you for the first time, tell them how they can connect to you and what kind of content you put out there.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. We also host a podcast on YouTube and on the audio podcasting platforms simply titled 49ers Access. We react and preview every 49er game. And with the offseason in full swing now, we're getting into draft content, free agency content. And we just released yesterday why the Niners should hire Jim Schwartz, detailing everything, why, the changes we'll have to make, and whatnot. But subscribe on YouTube. 49ers Access is the channel name. You can find me on social media at the exact same places as well.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks also to Sleeper. 49er football season presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description terms and conditions do apply. How about a little fire right now? A little fire.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get